The day I almost lost hope, and how I recovered. The world views my life as a seamless progression of divine power. They imagine a Jesus who moved from miracle to miracle, immune to the sting of doubt, the agony of human fear, or the crushing weight of existential despair. They assume that being the Son of God meant I bypassed the full, terrifying spectrum of human suffering. But that assumption is the very thing that separates you from the profound, relatable truth of my sacrifice. I was fully God, yes, but I was also fully man. A man who felt hunger, exhaustion, betrayal, and the profound, suffocating darkness that can extinguish the light of hope. The day I almost lost hope was not on the cross, where the spiritual victory was assured, though the physical pain was total. It was hours before the nails, in the olive grove of Gethsemane. The scene was set by a terrible beauty. The night was dark, illuminated only by a sliver of moon struggling through the olive branches. The air was heavy, not just with the scent of the trees, but with a spiritual density that chilled my soul to its core. I had just shared the final intimate meal with my disciples, broken bread, and shared the cup, the ultimate act of remembrance and union. And then I walked out with Peter, James, and John, asking them only for one thing: to watch and pray with me. I knew what was coming. I had foreseen the betrayal of Judas, the denial of Peter, and the scattering of the rest. I knew the physical pain of the scourging and the crucifixion. But what crushed my soul in Gethsemane was not the anticipation of the physical pain. It was the spiritual horror of the task ahead. For the first and only time in eternity, I, the Son who had known perfect unbroken union with the Father, was about to become sin itself, to take upon my pure, divine essence the total accumulated filth, malice, and rejection of every human being who ever lived or would ever live. This spiritual transaction meant, paradoxically, a complete and total separation from the Father. The human mind cannot grasp this horror. It was the weight of every lie, every act of violence, every betrayal, every moment of selfishness, the entire history of human darkness, being compressed and loaded onto my single soul. And in that moment, my human will, faced with the spiritual annihilation of separation from the Father, revolted. My body betrayed me. I fell to the ground, crushed not by the weight of a physical cross, but by the weight of the world's sin. My sweat became great drops of blood falling to the ground. This was not metaphor. It was a rare medical phenomenon known as hematidrosis, caused by a state of extreme psychological stress so overwhelming that it ruptures the capillaries in the sweat glands. My physical body was screaming a warning: the cost is too high. And that is when I spoke the words that revealed the depth of my struggle, the moment I almost lost hope. I cried out to the Father, my voice raw with the agony of human flesh. Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours, be done. The cup I spoke of was not the death, it was the separation. It was the prospect of enduring the total abandonment of God. And for a fleeting, terrifying moment, the human part of me recoiled, pleading for an alternative, a different way to redeem mankind that did not require this absolute spiritual sacrifice. I came to the very brink of despair, where the overwhelming cost threatened to extinguish my resolve. If you have ever been in a Gethsemane moment, crushed by a burden so heavy that your body cries out in pain, your spirit yearns for escape, and your hope feels utterly extinguished, then this story is for you. I was there. I felt that despair. If this narrative gives you the courage to face your own overwhelming darkness with faith, I invite you to subscribe now. Let the next deep lesson on perseverance unfold. My disciples, whom I had asked to watch and pray, slept. I returned to them and found them heavy with exhaustion. 3 times I left them. 3 times I returned to the same site of human failure. This compounded my solitude. The very men I had chosen to be the spiritual foundation of my future church could not stay awake for 1 hour. This was the second wave of despair, the loneliness of the mission. I saw the relentless frailty of humanity, the gap between the willing spirit and the weak flesh, and I felt the crushing weight of knowing that this very weakness would define the centuries of struggle for my church. I knew their hearts were with me, but their physical endurance was absent. I told them, the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. This was not a criticism, it was an eternal truth about the human condition I was about to save. And I realized that if my hope was dependent on their strength, the mission was lost. And this is how I recovered. The recovery was not a sudden burst of divine power overriding my humanity. It was a choice, a wrestle, and a profound submission enacted in 3 stages. 1. The power of petition, the struggle. My prayer was the first step toward recovery. I did not pretend the pain was not real. I articulated the horror to the only one who understood it. I used the ultimate spiritual tool, honest petition. I laid the full, raw terror of my soul before the Father. The struggle was necessary. It demonstrated that my choice to proceed was an act of free will, not predestination. My humanity fought the cup, but my divinity, the eternal union with the Father, was the anchor. The very act of turning to the Father in my despair was the act that secured my hope. 2. The acceptance of authority, the submission. The recovery was sealed by the final phrase, "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours, be done." This was the turning point. It was the moment I chose to surrender my justifiable human desire for escape to the perfect saving plan of the Father. I realized that the only way to recover hope when facing the unbearable cup is to shift the focus from the pain of the task to the perfection of the author. My hope was restored the moment I remembered that the Father's love, which designed the cross, was greater than the pain of the cross itself. 3. The intervention of grace, the strengthening. The scriptures record that after my profound submission, an angel appeared to him from heaven, strengthening him. The Father did not remove the cup, but he sent the strength to drink it. This was the final crucial step in my recovery of hope. This moment was my preparation for you. I knew that in your darkest hours, the Father might not remove the trial, but he will always send his angel of grace. A sudden realization, an inexplicable surge of peace, the comfort of the Holy Spirit, or the unexpected presence of a faithful friend. My hope was recovered by relying on the supernatural provision of the Father's strength, not my own. The path of faith is often a solitary, painful walk into a darkness you can barely comprehend. I have walked it for you. I have struggled, and I have recovered. If the raw truth of my Gethsemane struggle resonates with your need for strength in a moment of crisis, share this story. Let others know that the Son of God understands their despair. Before you proceed, make sure you are subscribed. The next lesson will reveal how my recovered hope immediately turned into powerful action. My recovery of hope was immediately followed by decisive action. I rose from the dust of the garden, wiped the bloody sweat from my brow, and found my disciples. "Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." The moment I stood, the despair was broken, hope was recovered, and the certainty of the mission was restored. I walked toward the inevitable with a serene, terrifying calm. I went to meet Judas, not as a victim, but as a king ready to complete his coronation through sacrifice. I had faced the greatest spiritual terror imaginable, the separation from God, and I had conquered the temptation to abandon the mission. The hope I regained in Gethsemane was an active, powerful force that carried me through the subsequent hours of betrayal, arrest, false trials, scourging, and the long road to Calvary. Every step I took, every silence I kept before my accusers, every drop of blood I shed was fueled by the hope I recovered in that garden. I endured the unforgivable betrayal of Judas, the denial of Peter, and the abandonment of the crowds, because the hope of your salvation had been reinforced by the Father's assurance. When I cried out on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It was the sound of the ultimate separation, the very spiritual agony I had feared in Gethsemane. But even in that terrifying moment of abandonment, the hope I recovered ensured. My final cry was one of triumph and completion. "It is finished. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." The day I almost lost hope became the day I secured yours. If you are fighting for your hope today, standing at the brink of your own personal failure or despair, remember Gethsemane. My struggle was real, my fear was valid, but my recovery was absolute. The blueprint for overcoming despair is not a secret formula, but an honest cry to the Father, followed by an act of total submission to His will. Subscribe now and be part of the community that chooses submission over despair and resurrection over resignation. The final truth of Gethsemane is this: my human struggle validates your own. You are not meant to pretend that the darkness is not real. You are meant to bring the darkness, the fear, and the crushed hope into the light of my Father's presence. When your humanity fails, when your strength is exhausted, and when the cup is too bitter to drink, my recovered hope stands as your eternal assurance. The recovery I found was for the purpose of completing the task that guarantees your ultimate unbreakable hope, and that hope, rooted in my submission, will never fail you.